So Casey Anthony's trial is heading into day 4 today.
Ugh.
Horrible story, horrible story.
So
we've heard
upsetting.
from many different people that, you know, she's accused of killing her daughter,
Right.
who she says drowned in a pool and then mysteriously made her way into the trunk of her car to decompose. And then over time she was partying while her daughter was missing. She was going about her usual business, and now, you know, the defense is claiming that for reasons of sexual abuse and her history and all of this, that, you know, she basically shouldn't be accused of doing this. What do you think of this whole situation?
It's just such a shady situation, you know, because the amount of blame that people try to put on their past for things like this that come up in their future, I think is just a little ridiculous. You know, you can always find some sort of excuse, and of course people make mistakes, but something like that is just so extreme and, you know, dreadfully horrific that I think it's just...
Well, and what do you think of the fact that she was out and about partying and going about her normal days while her daughter's missing?
I mean, when something like that happens, I think you have to attribute it to some sort of mental insanity. I mean, there's no way with your child missing as a mother with the maternal instincts that you would be able to function, most likely, let alone be in any sort of social situation.
There's got to be some sort of disconnect between the child and the mother.
Exactly.
It's just, and then if you look at her now and you think of her when she was, you know, back in the day when this was going on, and she was so upbeat and fun and vibrant, and now she looks like she's dead and depressed, and she's almost looks like she's taking it serious now, but at the time when the child was actually missing, it was like, oh, she'll come back. Like, my 2-year-old just wandered out into the backyard, but she'll be back later on tonight. Let's, you know. Do you think she's going to be accused of murder, or what do you think is going to happen here? How do you think it's going to end?
I mean, I hate to say, you know, what will be, because I guess, you know, in this day and age with a fair trial for everybody and, you know, innocent until proven guilty, it's sort of hard to say what exactly will happen, but I just don't see how logistically the puzzle pieces can fit together to align in any way for her to not be accused of guilty. It just... Well, especially with a jury, you know, anything involving a child like that, or that's this devastating, I think
it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, for sure.
Definitely.
But in the meantime, we can talk about the fact that Amy Winehouse is back in rehab.
Surprise, surprise.
That's what everyone seems to say when you talk about this. Do you think this is going to be the time that it actually helps her and she comes out of it? Or?
I mean, I hope so. You know, it's hard in situations like this to feel sympathetic for people when it keeps happening over and over and over again. It almost feels like, you know, some sort of self-loathing that just keeps happening again and again. But I think it's such a shame in the case of Amy Winehouse, because she's so incredibly talented, and to be having all of the resources that you do and to have had the success that you have had, and, you know, I don't know, it almost feels like a slap in the face to the fans to continue to
when you
set
think
a
about
certain
Amy
example.
Winehouse and her persona and how she is, I mean, yeah, she does drink and she does, you know, do whatever else she does, but her music doesn't seem to really be affected by that. Do you think that if she went into rehab, cleaned up, and had a whole different lifestyle, that her music would be affected, that it would be the same sort of passion? And how do you think that's going to affect it?
I think it certainly could be. I think that, you know, musical talent doesn't have to come down to sort of external factors. We know she has the talent there. She's already displayed that, and I think she could even have a more positive impact on herself and her own music by setting a better example for, you know, people out there who are her fans, a lot of which are young, you know, young teenage girls.
That's true. I have this feeling that especially in the entertainment industry, a lot of how you are publicly affects just the way people, you know, listen to your music and all that. So if she changes, it's like, are people going to continue to listen? I mean, it's a risk that you have to take.
Same with her voice, you know, with all of this drinking and drug use and
making
alcohol,
it like raspy?
That raspiness that we love, that might be what gives it to her. And hopefully she could find ways to achieve that, though, I would think, without having to take that route. Because one of these days, her, Lindsay Lohan, these people who are continuously going into rehab, something's going to happen to somebody, you know?
And speaking of Lindsay Lohan, you've seen her going in multiple times. Now she's on house arrest, and, you know, I mean, she seems to be getting her life together, but then again, she's gone to rehab a couple times and hasn't worked yet.
Right, and I mean, and even to this day, this moment that she's in rehab right now, she's still getting, you know, accused by the media. That they said just the other night she was at Jelena down in Venice, like drinking wine, and, you know, for her to have to be fighting back so hard to prove that she didn't sit there and drink 2 glasses of wine, like, what is her life coming to?
Well, and she's almost put herself in that situation, though, because it's by her choice. So then you have to wonder, like, all these people are being forced into rehab by parents, by friends, is that part of the reason that it's not working? Because in the end, they really don't think that they have a problem. They don't want the help.
Right. I mean, it's like intervention, you know? You see these people who are resisting and resisting and resisting so hard, as with any sort of challenge. And I think if you don't have the personal motivation to move forward with making yourself better, it probably isn't going to work, you know? And I think for these people like Lindsay Lohan, like Amy Winehouse, when is it going to be the last straw for them personally to feel like, if I keep doing this, I'm not going to survive. You know, my life is going to end in one form or another.
Yeah. And how many, turns do you get to go to rehab and actually have people believe that you're going to
get better?
Get better. So, well, hopefully they both do.
Yeah.
And hopefully their careers
Definitely.
skyrocket and they do well for themselves.